at the end of this, but for those of you that don't know me, I'm Elaine. I'm from Tourism South East. We're the umbrella destination management organisation for the southeast of England. We are not for profit, and we operate as a membership organisation, working with our tourism businesses and destinations to help them promote themselves through marketing and training and research. So Excursions is our baby as such, but she's 45 years old. But for that area of our business, we're actually it's national, so it's not just the southeast of England. So we do help everybody promote themselves across the UK and even overseas. So in 2020, as you know, we went virtual, and they seem to go really well, and we've continued to do these, and we will continue to do them whilst there is a demand from both destinations and yourselves. So as usual, I've got Karen on the call with me today, who supports us on Excursions, and she's just going to facilitate the Q&A, and she'll explain about that in the moment. And also we have got Heather with me as well, who's waving because she's in an office with other people talking, and Heather works sort of behind the scenes or alongside me on Excursions, and she's the face behind the e-newsletters and a lot of the stuff that we do there. So what we will do, we've got the lovely Rachel Gander with us today, and she is from Visit Winchester, and we've got something a little bit different actually for you. It's a slightly different format, which I think you'll enjoy, so I'll let Rachel tell you about that. So I'm going to hand over to Karen to just tell you about the Q&A, and then we can go straight on to Rachel. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Lovely to see you. As you are aware, all of those have followed us before, you can ask a question at any time through the chat box at the bottom, and those will be then put to Rachel when we finish the presentation, and you can ask them yourselves at that point as well. But please add any into the chat box, that would be great. Thank you, and over to Rachel.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to get my first slide up. Okay, that should be working. Apologies, I haven't got my virtual background on this morning. We gave it a try before you all joined us, and it looked like I'd had some dental treatment. I had rather white, shiny teeth, so you'll have to forgive me for that. But thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm Rachel Gander, Tourism Marketing and Development Manager here at Visit Winchester. And I know we all feel like we need to get away right now, so it's time to pack your virtual suitcase and join me and everyone else as we take you on a trip via technology to Winchester today, the ancient capital of England. And we're going to meet our official Winchester tourist guides, who will give you a taster of one of their tours around our historic city. And at the same time, you'll get to enjoy some of the sights of the city from the comfort of your own home. The video is about 20 minutes long, and then after that I'm going to give you a short presentation and more information about planning your group trip to Winchester, and I'll try and answer any questions you might have at the end. So for now, sit back and enjoy our guides, and if I can hand over to Elaine, and she will start the video for us.
Okay, I'm just going to stop share there.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Winchester. My name is David. I'm one of the city tour guides, and with my colleagues Dave, Pauline and Vel, we shall be giving you a taste today of what one of our wonderful tours around the city is really like. Vibrant, ancient, cultured, Winchester. And those adjectives just describe some of the residents, but Winchester itself, voted a few years ago by a leading Sunday newspaper as the most desirable place in the country in which to live. Why was that? Well, for a start, Winchester is steeped in history. The Romans were here. They called this place Venta Belgarum, and after their departure and the Dark Ages, our next visitors were the Saxons, whose most famous king, Alfred, made Winchester the capital of his kingdom, Wessex. His statue is a central point in Winchester itself and tells us a great deal about him. Just look at the statue. In his right hand, he's carrying a sword. Curious that he's holding it by the blade. Why do you think that might be? And in his left hand, there is a shield, a symbol of defense. Alfred transformed the city, made it a cultural and spiritual capital, and in fact founded more than 50 churches. But Winchester is not just about Alfred the Great. It is also a place of learning, and to the left of Alfred's statue, St. John's House is one of the oldest establishments in the country. Just look at the building, the windows on the second floor. Are they real, or have they been painted on? And we are standing in Abbey Gardens. But where is the Abbey? And at the edge of the gardens is the gracious Abbey House, the official residence of the Mayor of Winchester. And on the back wall is a bell. What is that doing there? As you come to Winchester, all sorts of questions will come to mind. And if you come on one of our tours, we'll be able to explore together some of the answers to those questions.
Hello, I'm Pauline. And here we are beside the famous River Itchen. It's crystal clear because it's filtered through the chalk. And it rises nearby in a village called Cheriton, and it goes all the way down to Southampton. If you're very lucky, you might be able to see some trout or salmon swimming in here. And you know, the river wasn't always here. The Romans diverted it to this route when they were here in AD 70. It's a very fast-flowing river, and if you look there, you can see the bridge over the river. This is the City Bridge, or St. Swithin's Bridge. But there was a much older bridge on that site. St. Swithin himself, then Bishop Swithin, built the bridge, and one day there's a story that he was on the bridge and a poor lady was walking across the bridge and she broke some eggs she was carrying. Now, it's said this is where one of the first of Swithin's miracles were performed, but you'll have to come along to find out more about that story. Beyond the bridge, you can see the City Mill, which has been lovingly restored to an active working mill. So you can visit, you can buy flour, make your own bread, and you can also go downstairs to where the mill race is. And if you're very lucky, you may see another visitor, as sometimes they have otters there. Now, from here, we can take a beautiful stroll along the scenic riverside beside the medieval city wall. And as we go, I'd like you to take notice of the flint and the ancient stones in those walls from very old medieval buildings. And now we're going to head down to see Dave, who's at Winchester College.
Hello, my name's David and I'm one of the city tour guides here in Winchester. And I want to show you another ancient but also contemporary institution here in Winchester, Winchester College. A world famous private boarding school. It's been operating continuously on this same site here in Winchester, and out of those original stone and flint built buildings that you can see for well over 600 years. It was founded in 1382 by the then Bishop of Winchester, Bishop William of Wykeham. Now he's buried here in Winchester Cathedral, where you can see his ornately carved chantry chapel. Now, following the Great Bubonic Plague of 1348 to 1350, which killed between 30 and 60% of Europe's entire population, Bishop William of Wykeham needed priests to replace those who had died. Now, priests appear to have suffered disproportionately more deaths, probably because they had to perform the last rites on so many souls shortly before their deaths. There were too many churches in the diocese with no incumbent priests at all. William of Wykeham founded New College, Oxford, to train priests, but of course he needed highly educated candidates to send there. That is why he established an excellent school here on his doorstep in Winchester, where he could nurture it and oversee it. From the beginning, the school enrolled scholars, those with academic promise but of limited means. This was perhaps a reflection of William of Wykeham's own humble origins. Today, the school still prides itself on the opportunities that it's able to offer in terms of scholarships and bursaries. Now, the school is so old that some of its customs and even the language that the students use amongst themselves have their origins in the Middle Ages. You can still see the vent in the roof above where, before safe running water was available, medieval small beer was brewed for the students to drink. And it continued to be brewed here until relatively recently. Who knows what the school motto is? You probably already know it. It's "Manners maketh man." It was William of Wykeham's family motto and he lent it to his school. Nowadays, Winchester College's main focus is not on preparing young men for the priesthood. Winchester College retains its high academic, musical and sporting standards, which maintains it as one of the premier private schools in the world. If you come to Winchester, you can have a tour around the inside of the college with one of their own guides. Now, let's walk down College Street and go and see Val.
Hello, I'm Valerie and I'm going to show you a little bit about the life of Jane Austen. Who was Jane Austen, first of all? She was a novelist and she was born in 1775, about 15 miles north of here in a little village called Steventon, where her father was the vicar. She was the seventh of 8 children and she moved around the country and finally settled in Chawton. Her brother owned the estate and she lived in a little house in Chawton with her mother and her sister. This was where she did most of her writing, and it is now a museum dedicated to Jane Austen. She became unwell at the age of 41, so she moved to this house, the first floor, with her sister Cassandra. Unfortunately, she moved here in May of 1817, was only here for 2 months, and then she died. The treatment did not work. At her funeral, there were only 4 people, 4 men in fact, her 3 brothers and her nephew. Her sister looked from the window. She was not allowed to go because she was a woman. Jane Austen was buried in the cathedral, not because she was famous at that point in her life. It was because of her ecclesiastical connections. 50 years after her death, her nephew put up a brass plaque in the cathedral commemorating his aunt. And then in 1900, there was a public funding to put up a window dedicated to Jane Austen. It is the most visited tomb that we have in the cathedral. And her works that you've probably heard of me made into films and into television series, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility and Emma, just to name a few. We're now going to walk round to the cathedral to meet David.
Winchester Cathedral, you're bringing me down. You just stood and watched as my baby left town. Do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do. Some of us may remember that pop song from the 1960s. But this building is much more than about a 1960s pop song. It is a national treasure and contains other treasures. This site has been a focal centre of Christian worship since the 600s, when the first cathedral was built. This cathedral before us today is the 3rd one to be built on this site and dates back to shortly after the Norman conquest of 1066. And this has been a place hugely significant for royalty. William the Conqueror was here. Richard the Lionheart was crowned here in 1194. Royal weddings have happened here. most notably in 1554, the wedding between Queen Mary and Philip of Spain. That was the wedding of the century. And more recently, this has been the place where episodes of The Crown have been filmed for Netflix. If we look at the building, we notice the wonderful western facade. At the top, aloft, is the statue of St. Swithin, our local saint, and below him that window, front of which is a balustrade. It's known locally as the Fire Watcher's Window. I wonder why. What is the fire? And within the cathedral itself, there are further treasures, most notably perhaps the Winchester Bible, dating back to the 12th century, arguably the most important book, the most valuable book in the country. And there is the magnificent exhibition devoted to our Saxon rulers who reside here. And of course, from the literary point of view, the cathedral is the final resting place of our well-known novelist Jane Austen. This is a national treasure and contains other national treasures. Do come and find out more about it.
Here we are in the heart of Winchester. A stone's throw from both our ancient cathedral and our even older High Street. This is the square. Here is an exciting mix of cultural, historic and spiritual Winchester. It's also an area which is contemporary and vibrant. A modern sculpture called Luminous Motion by Peter Freeman sits on that tree-lined path from the west end of the cathedral. It was unveiled in 2002. It was sited next to the Winchester City Museum, which was opened 100 years earlier in 1903. When it was opened, it was the first purpose-built museum in the country to be opened outside of London. Now, this museum tells the story of what we now call the city of Winchester, from early Bronze Age man to the Edwardian era. Among the fabulous exhibits is an enormous yet exquisitely crafted model of the entire city of Winchester as it would have looked during the reign of Queen Victoria. Now, it's a super museum to visit, especially with children. Come and see our famous painted traffic bollards, decorated by a consortium of local artists called the Colour Factory. They're inspired by famous paintings and artists, and taken together they create an intriguing outside art gallery. The tower you can see above the roof line belongs to St. Lawrence's Church. Now, parts of that church date back to 1150, but it was built on the site of William the Conqueror's original chapel when he had his palace on this site. And if you know where to look around here, you can still find evidence of that palace. The Eclipse Inn you can see is a pub that is as old as it looks. It used to be the rectory for St. Lawrence's Church. Come and find out who haunts it and listen to her macabre story. And you remember, I said contemporary and vibrant. Well, Winchester has been described as the gastronomic capital of the South. It boasts more than its fair share of independent, Michelin-starred and celebrity cafes and restaurants. It's safe to say that Winchester is a great place to come if you like good food. Now, we're going to go to the High Street and we're going to see Pauline by the Buttercross.
Hello, so here we are at the 14th century Buttercross, which was refurbished in the 19th century. We're in the heart of the city, and this is located right in the middle of the oldest highway or high street in England. And if you look closely at the Buttercross, you'll see the statues of the ancient kings and saints that were important to the city of Winchester. In olden times, the people would come and sell their dairy produce on the steps, and that's why it's called Buttercross, possibly. Some people call it the City Cross. In medieval times, there was even a pub on either side of this cross, and one was called Heaven and one was called Hell. So you could choose which one you'd prefer to go to. Now, we very nearly lost the cross at one point in 1770 when there was a riot by the people of Winchester. There was a wealthy local landowner who wanted this cross for his estate called Cranberry Park. But because of the riots, the cross was saved, thank goodness. The town crier would come and make proclamations from this cross as well. This is a very vibrant part of the city where you can eat, drink and be merry, and you'll often find market stalls here. So very little has changed over the years. If you come and sit on the steps, you'll be bound to return. Come and find out more about that. Now from here, we can walk up this ancient holloway up towards the West Gate. And as you go, you will find more about the history and the mystery of the city.
We're stood outside the beautiful Great Hall that Winchester is very proud of. It's an aisled hall. It was built on top of a Roman fortification, this being the highest part of the city here. In 1222, King Henry III came and decided he would like to renovate the Great Hall, knock the old one down and built the one that you can see today, using our local building material, which is flint. His son, Edward I, when he was here, built a round table. It was the fashion of the day. It was a big thing, round tables. But he left it unpainted. In 1516, King Henry VIII came here and decided that he would like some work done in the Great Hall. And he also decided to have the round table painted. It was painted in the style of Arthur, King Arthur and his 24 knights. However, if you look very closely at King Arthur's face, who does it remind you of? A very young Henry VIII. He came back 6 years later in 1522 to show Charles V, the Roman Emperor. It was a case of showing off. Let me show you my beautiful great table. So he offered him a lavish banquet and the view of the round table. The castle remained here until 1645. Oliver Cromwell decided to knock it all down so that it would not be used as a fortification. The only part we were left with is the Great Hall. During the years, the Great Hall has been a courthouse. Some very important hearings were here. In 1603, we had Sir Walter Raleigh condemned to death and then reprieved at the last minute. And then in 1685, we had poor Dame Alice Lisle, an elderly lady who was condemned to be burnt and in the end reprieved, but she was beheaded instead. The courthouse remained until 1973, when they built the courthouse to your left, which is a new one. And inside, if you go in our Great Hall, there are lots of things to see, including the round table. You have the wedding gates by Anthony Robinson, commemorating the wedding of Prince Charles with Lady Diana Spencer. And at the back of the Great Hall, a very delightful medieval garden.
Thank you so much for joining us today in Winchester. We look forward to welcoming you back very soon indeed.
Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed that. That was fantastic. A slightly different way of doing these virtual sessions, and they all worked really hard to create that with Rachel. So thank you. Rachel, back over to you.
Thank you, Elaine. I'm just going to share my screen again. Okay. Right, so hopefully our guides have given you a flavour of Winchester. My team's responsible for working with businesses in the tourism and hospitality industry across the whole of the Winchester district, which is not actually just the city. It covers an area of 250 square miles from the north of the city right down to Denmead in the southern end of the district, where you'll also find Fort Nelson, which is home to the National Royal Armouries collection. And this part of the district is actually very close to Portsmouth as well. Within the district, you'll find our heritage city of Winchester, which is just a stone's throw from beautiful English countryside with its rolling hills, chalk downland and forests. And dotted around the district, you'll also find our historic market towns. We've got the Georgian town of Alresford, which is famous for its superfood watercress. Wickham is surrounded by Meon Valley countryside, and the medieval market town of Bishop's Waltham. We've also got a more modern outlet shopping village, and you can find that in Whiteley. So where is Winchester? We're actually just an hour from London by train and very close to the south coast. Winchester is also one of the gateways to the South Downs National Park, and you can see that area is marked on green, in green on the map on this slide. As you can see, I've given a rough guide to approximate distances from some of the key destinations. Portsmouth is well known for Gunwharf Quay shopping in the historic dockyard. That's only about 40 minutes drive away. And the New Forest National Park, which includes some stunning coastline, which you can follow into Dorset, is only 21 miles. And Brighton, via the A27, you're looking at about 75 miles drive. And as you can see, we're conveniently located off junctions 9, 10 and 11 of the M3. And Southampton Airport Parkway is only 15 minutes away, if any of you are flying. So if that taster of one of our guided tours left you wanting more, then I can thoroughly recommend a tour with one of our official guides. Even as a local to Winchester, I learnt so many interesting facts when I was lucky enough to go on a tour. They're an ideal introduction to the city. Our guides are qualified and they're experts on the historical sites and hidden stories of Winchester. I'm delighted to say that tours will be resuming again from the 1st of May on Fridays and Saturdays, and then daily from the 17th of May until September. And you can book those tours online via our Visit Winchester website, or you can call the Visitor Information Centre, or when you arrive, you can book the tours through them too. Not only do the guides offer their regular tours, but they do offer themed and seasonal tours too. They're currently suspended due to COVID, but we're hoping to get them back on the programme again soon, because they're really great for those people that have got a special interest in Jane Austen or Keats, for instance. So Winchester Cathedral, as you saw in the video, you can explore over 1,000 years of English history at Winchester Cathedral, including their newest exhibition, Kings and Scribes, The Birth of a Nation, and that showcases some of the nation's greatest treasures, as David was saying. Group tours are available at a discounted rate of £8 per person for groups of 10 or more. And the cathedral will be transformed this September by spectacular floral displays as it hosts their flower festival. It really is worth a visit, and it's absolutely incredible to see the cathedral transformed with so many beautiful flowers. And groups of 15 plus will be offered £2 off their booking. And also group bookings will be available for the Christmas market, which will be returning this November to the city. Winchester College was founded in 1382 by William of Wykeham, and you saw some beautiful sort of videos of the college. Very, very beautiful site. It's one of the world's most famous schools. It has more than 80 listed buildings, many of which are available to be viewed by the public on one of their guided tours. The college is also, again, a short walk from the coach drop-off point, which is by the Guildhall. Just walk through the cathedral close and you're there at the Porter's Lodge. Tours usually last 1 hour and are led by our experienced tour guides who concentrate on the school's historic buildings, including Chamber Court, which is the medieval heart of the school, a 14th century Gothic chapel, College Hall, where scholars have eaten their meals since 1397, a medieval cloister, which you can see pictured in this slide, and a 17th century red brick schoolroom. Bookings are now open again for tours from July 2021. It is a working school, hence why the tours aren't starting until July. Groups of 10 or more can pre-book in advance, and they offer 1 free place per 10 booked places. Also worth visiting is the Winchester College Treasury, which is in the grounds of the college itself. The museum houses the school's outstanding collections of art and archaeology, and that's free to enter and open daily between 2 and 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Winchester Theatre Royal, as you can see in this slide, it's one of our theatres. The city is also home to a thriving arts and events scene, and the Theatre Royal stands at the heart of the city's cultural quarter, welcoming a busy programme of live theatre to its intimate Edwardian-style 400-seat theatre. The theatre hosts a diverse programme of drama, dance, family theatre, music, talks, and a really popular traditional family pantomime every December. The theatre has a vibrant cafe bar and is part of the arts and education charity Play to the Crowd, and they also run Winchester's annual outdoor arts festival, Hat Fair, which happens every July. Also in the city, just to highlight some more of our great attractions that are all within walking distance of the ones already mentioned. You saw in the video King Arthur's legendary round table at the Great Hall, and we've perched over the River Itchen, there's the National Trust City Mill. It's over 1,000 years old and it's probably the oldest working water mill in the country, and it still grinds flour today. And that's also one of the official gateways to the South Downs National Park and the South Downs National Way. The High Street is home to independent shops and big name brands, and as well as a foodie hub featuring celebrity chef restaurants. We've got Rick Stein's restaurant on the High Street, as well as Van and the Ivy. You'll also find local independents well worth a try, serving up local produce and delicious meals. And our visitor information centre will be happy to help recommend group-friendly eateries as well. Winchester is brimming with museums that tell a story of the district. I would recommend starting your journey at the City Museum, as seen in the video, before heading up to the West Gate, which is a former debtors' prison. And our military museums just past the Great Hall are home to a fantastic collection of medals, paintings and military objects. Hampshire Cultural Trust also own the Gallery and City Space, which host a programme of art exhibitions from locally, nationally and internationally renowned artists as well. So moving beyond the city, across the district, you'll find more attractions, including the beautiful rooms of Bishop's Waltham Palace, which are in the market town of Bishop's Waltham. We've got Bombay Sapphire Distillery, which is home to all Bombay Sapphire gin. You can ride the Midhants Railway Watercress line from Alton to Alresford on a restored steam train. And the district is also home to Marwell Zoo, with 140 acres, which are home to hundreds of animals, including giraffe, leopards and tigers. And as mentioned in the video, you can also visit Jane Austen's house in Chawton and see her grave at the cathedral in the city. In the heart of Hampshire's South Downs National Park lies the oldest vineyard in the UK and one of the most breathtaking sites in the country, Hambledon Vineyard. The producer recently opened back its doors to visitors, offering a wide range of experiences from tours and tastings, picnics in the vineyard and seafood extravaganza and other pairings. They've got a special offer at the moment where the group organiser gets a free ticket. And finally today, I would briefly like to mention our festivals. Obviously this last year has been a little different due to restrictions from COVID. However, some festivals are still planning to go ahead, and last year many of them tried a mix of virtual events as well. So we're hoping to see quite an eclectic mix still moving into this year. Our typical festival season spans the whole year, and as I mentioned earlier, a favourite is Hat Fair in July, which is the UK's longest running outdoor street arts festival. And also we have the National Heritage Open Days in September, where you can get free entry to a lot of our attractions and hidden spaces. We also have literary festivals, including Winchester Poetry Festival and the Writers' Weekend, music festivals from chamber music to jazz, and an annual comedy festival. Boomtown, usually in August, has sadly been cancelled this year due to COVID, but it usually offers a city of wonderment, theatre, escapism, and a community with breathtaking and intricate stages and streets waiting to be discovered. And you can enjoy hundreds of musical acts from across the globe, and that's at the Matterley Bowl Estate, just outside of Winchester. Winchester is also home to a growing feast of food and drink festivals, celebrating local gins, wine, coffee and food, including our local leaf watercress, which is celebrated at Alresford Annual Watercress Festival. We've also got Winchester Jazz Festival in September, and you can experience a taste of some of the jazz there at the new cafe bar at the Theatre Royal Winchester. And new for this year, we're going to hold the region's first design festival, which will celebrate Hampshire's thriving design economy. And lastly, I can't talk about festivals without talking about one of arguably the most beautiful times of year in the city, when the Christmas festive season starts in November with the switch on of the Christmas lights, and Winchester Cathedral hosts the Christmas market and ice rink. Rightly so, it is recognised as one of the best Christmas markets in Europe because of its unique location, high quality exhibitors and bustling atmosphere. You can find wonderful Christmas gifts, decorations and festive food to be enjoyed. Just a little bit about planning your trip. Our group travel advisors from the Visitor Information Centre have an extensive knowledge of the local area across the whole district, and will be happy to provide personalised support and all advice on all aspects of your group visit. We can provide you with itineraries according to your group's area of interest. We can give you suggestions for group-friendly accommodation and places to eat. We can help organise fam trips, and also those useful copies of maps and guides. We can provide multiple copies of those for your group. You can either email us, call us, or pop in during your visit. Just a note about coach parking, which is available off Worthy Lane, which is very near the city, and there are coach drop-off points around the city, including centrally at King Alfred's statue, right on the Broadway next to the Guildhall, and very important after a long journey, very close to the public toilets, which are in Abbey Garden next to the Guildhall. And if you're choosing to drive to the city as well, we've got Winchester Park and Ride, very easy access into the city. And finally, we can't wait to welcome you back to Winchester. So do contact our Visitor Information Centre or take a look on our website, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Any questions?
Thank you, Rachel. That was really interesting. We've had a few comments about how great the video was. And I must admit, I've watched that the second time now, and it is fantastic. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask? We've none in the chat box, but you're very happy to ask a question now.
You obviously covered it all, Rachel. All blown away. Super.
It's well worth, when you're visiting. Sorry, Elaine. I was just going to say it's well worth when you're visiting Winchester to think about perhaps visiting Bishops Waltham and Alresford. I've been in both recently in the last week, and they really do make a great way of touring around the area, and some great places for walks as well. So you can walk along the river at Alresford, or in Bishops Waltham, you can walk down the back of the palace, and there's some lovely circular walks there as well. So if your group's interested in walking, you can connect walking and history together, and great places to eat.
Our guides actually, again, with their special interest tours, when they're back up and running, you know, they can come and do that with you as well. But yeah, as Karen said, it's lots of nice places to eat, well worth a visit. What I don't think I did cover, obviously that was a very quick guided tour of 20 minutes, but you're usually looking at about 90 minutes for one of our official tour guides tour of the do and they do a tour of the upper city and the lower city. So it really is a good introduction, you know, come and do that first, and then, you know, have the rest of the afternoon, stay overnight and explore some of the market towns across the district, Bombay Sapphire, the Vineyard.
There's a wine or alcohol scene there, Rachel. Mike.
Yeah, do you charge for the walking tours?
Yes, I haven't got I should have got the prices to hand actually. From memory, I mean, well, is it? I don't know if there's a way of sort of sending, because I don't want to get my costs wrong. Elaine, is there a way I can, you know, find out from the guides, and because I know it's about £6 or £7 per person, but I think that they might do £45 for a group tour, but that was pre-COVID, so I might have my prices wrong, but I can certainly, I'll get the proper information. There's also, it will be available on the guide's website, but I can certainly share with you the right costs so that I'm not.
We can include it in the newsletter.
Yes, that would be brilliant. Yeah, thank you. I'll get those costs today.
And can I just ask, is there a drop-off up at the top of the hill, anywhere near the county hall, a coach drop-off? I always find that a bit tricky coming from Oxford, because the problem is if you go down to the bottom and then have to walk up the top, it's quite a walk, actually.
Yeah.
And, I'm just wondering if there's an official drop-off. We find one, I have to say, but is there an official one as well?
It's downhill. It's a downhill walk. Is that? Yeah, I know what you mean. You've obviously got the Worthy Lane Coach Park, which is at the top there. And again, I can find out the exact drop-offs. There are other points across the city, but what I'll do is I'll find out the exact location. I'll have a chat with our VIC and get the exact locations for you with postcodes.
I think it would be useful to know if there's an official one, because as I say, I always solve it because I've got Winchester friends anyway.
Yeah.
But you don't like doing things unofficially. I mean, with students, if I've got a young group, it's not a problem. They jump off and so on. But if you're stopping any length of time, you've got to be a little bit, aware.
I think Sussex Street was one of the coach drop-off points up the top there. But like I say, I will double check and I'll get that information to you.
Thank you.
Make a note.
Alan, you'd like to ask a question?
Yeah, I've seen reference to a science centre or a planetarium in the Morn Hill area of Winchester.
Yeah,
is that suitable for a group visit?
Absolutely, yes. The science centre and planetarium is, like you correctly said, it's in Morn Hill. I believe there is the car park. There's a car park up there, and I believe there's coach parking there.
Yes.
Again, we can send you information. It's quite a family-friendly attraction, and usually during the week it plays host to sort of school visits. And I know that they've recently, after COVID, they've recently said that they're only opening on weekends and school holidays. But for groups, I'm not sure what the arrangement will be. So what I can do is, again, I'll include a link to the Science Centre and Planetarium. They've also got planetarium shows that you can just go to, so you don't have to go around the sort of Science Centre itself. But it's a very interactive exhibition space. It's great. And obviously you've got sort of a site of special interest there as well, so you can sort of picnic in the butterfly reserve at Morn Hill, very, very nice. And it's a designated dark skies as well. And yeah, so I again, we'll find out more information for you, but yes, it's well worth a visit there. It's quite a long walk out of town, but it's less than 10-minute drive.
Okay, super. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
It's actually right on the same site as the Holiday Inn as well, Holiday Inn Winchester, which is one of the larger hotels and would cater really well for groups. It's got the car parking for space for coaches as well, hasn't it, Rachel? And
yeah, very good point, Elaine. Thank you. Yeah, and it's got a nice restaurant, bar area, and a spa at the Holiday Inn now as well. Yeah, no, that's a good place to stay.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Any more questions? No. Fantastic. Well, thank you all very, very much for attending again. We will have another one at the end of next month. I'm just going to end this recording. Bear with me.